Okay, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the City of Kingston Historic Landmark Preservation Commission meeting. Today is July 10th, 2024. It's 6:33 p.m. Just a couple of housekeeping matters before we start the meeting off. If you do need to use the restrooms, they are out of the chambers to our right, men's up to the front and women's to the back of the building. If you do have any side conversations, I just ask that you take them outside of this room. Conference room 1 has a meeting going on this evening, so conference room 2 would be available for you to use if you need to have a discussion. We do ask that you please silence your cell phones so that they don't interfere with the meeting recording. And also, if we do have an emergency, we just ask that you do not use the elevators, that you use the stairs. And if you do need assistance, just ask us and we will help you. And with that, I will introduce myself. I'm Suzanne Cahill. I'm the planning director for the City of Kingston. Ethan Dickerman is our historic preservation administrator for this commission as well. And I'm going to turn the meeting over to Chairman Mark Grumblatt to introduce his commission members here present tonight and to start the meeting.
Good evening. I'm Mark Grunblatt. I chair Historic Landmark Preservation Commission. I'll ask each of the members present to introduce themselves. Can we start with you, Andrea?
I'm Andrea Putz. I'm the architect of the commission.
Nettie Morano, Commissioner.
Kevin McAvoy, Commissioner.
All right, thank you. Should we do the minutes and then go into the public hearing? All right, has everyone had a chance to review the minutes? Are there any corrections or amendments anyone would like to make? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion that we approve the minutes as presented. Thank you, Nettie. You're going to need to turn the microphone on.
So moved.
Thank you. Do I hear a second?
Andrea Putz, second.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the roll. Andrea?
Aye.
Nettie?
Aye.
Kevin?
Aye.
I also vote yes. All right. Next order of business is a public hearing on a landmark district in the neighborhood of Wilbur, and I would invite members of the public to the podium over there. Please check and make sure that the microphone is on before you start speaking. And we don't have a sign-in sheet, but whoever would like to speak, if you just raise your hand, I'll try and go in a reasonable order. Thank you. Alderwoman, if you would just introduce yourself on the record.
Check. Okay. Thank you, Chairman Grumblatt, members of the Historic Preservation Commission, and Sue Cahill. I am Alderwoman Michelle Hirsch. I reside in the city of Kingston, and I am the Alderwoman for Ward 9, where this historic designation is anticipated to occur. I just want to lend my full support. I think that this is one of the most unique and special places in Kingston, and literally everything that's wonderful about the state of New York came and originated out of Wilbur. And I think it's time for it to get its due place in history in Kingston. And so many of the constituents always feel like Wilbur's just this forgotten stepchild. I always heard that. And so I think that we can rectify things now with this moving forward. And so just thank you to everyone that's worked really hard on this.
Thank you, Alderwoman. Would anyone else care to speak? If you just give your name and address for the record.
Hi, I'm Robert King. I reside in Wilbur, and I think sort of as an overall comment, I do not reside in the triangle that's part of the historic district, but I spend a lot of time down there, and I just find it such a unique spot. I mean, for better or for worse, it's been relatively untouched for a long time, and there's a lot of history there. There's certainly a lot of significant architecture there, and I just wanted to speak in favor of it. Thank you.
And thank you. Anyone else? No. All right. I just noticed someone on the far side. Would you like to speak? Okay, that's everybody. I will entertain a motion that we close the public hearing.
Andrea Pute, so moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second, Kevin McAvoy.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the roll. Andrea?
Aye.
Nettie?
Aye.
Kevin?
Aye.
I also vote yes. Thank you very much to our speakers.
So with that, the commission members were sent earlier today a resolution. I don't know if you've had an opportunity to read through it. There is an extra copy with your notes here this evening. If you want to take a couple minutes to read through that. If you have read through it, if you have any recommended changes or modifications to any of the text language, let us know. Otherwise, Mark, I'm going to ask that you read that to the record. Are there any questions about the process? Obviously, there were neighborhood meetings that took place. Hi. Yes, we're in here. Did you want to speak at the hearing? Did you want to say something? Okay. Okay, because we did have a couple of speakers. Yes. I'm sorry. Okay, so as I said, we did have a couple of neighborhood meetings, and Ethan has also, based on the code's requirements, all of the property owners that own property within the district were notified by certified mail. The hearing was also published in the local newspaper of record, the Daily Freeman. So the publication was covered, I think, pretty thoroughly. Everything has been posted to the website as well for informational purposes. We had one individual come into our office. Ethan spoke with her, and she did not submit a written comment, was not here this evening. So presuming that she was satisfied with his answers. Otherwise, you heard tonight from two speakers, the older person who represents that ward and a property owner not in the district, but who was involved in the project advisory committee when we had the AHRS consulting firm doing the initial intensive level work. So both of those individuals spoke in favor of the designation for local. And this is our first step, as you know. If we go through with this evening, this will go to the Common Council for consideration. It will also be joined by the Jewish Temple on Albany Avenue, which we've had the hearing for that, and the property on Westchester Street, which we also had a hearing on that one. So all of them will be going together along with a request to reinstitute the property tax abatement back into the code, which has since ceased. So we're going to reintroduce that. So it'll go as a nice package to the council as an August communication. Will be discussed in committee and hopefully come out at the September meeting. Okay.
Any questions from commission members?
I was going to just make one comment that we don't have to change any text. I'm not suggesting
Okay.
that at this late date. But Sojourner Truth, this happened, I think, after Maria had finished. She was the consultant on the project, Maria Auden. After she had completed the work, I think we found a map that showed Neely's old barn. And Neely's old barn, Neely was the person who had enslaved Sojourner Truth.
Oh, here, not in New Paltz. Well,
No, that's a different situation.
Okay.
The different people, and not a Sopus either, or poor Ewan. No, this was.
whom she was sold to, is that do I have the story
Yeah,
correct?
the people that were kind of didn't treat her very well. Let's put
Got
it that way.
Yeah, there's
And Mr. Shriver went and took her out of that situation, paid Mr. Neely off, and took her over to his tavern on the corner of River Road and 9W. Right, so that's the story with Sojourner Truth and her residency in Kingston. Not the court case, that came later.
Right. So, and that's within the bounds of the,
Dunn Street,
oh, okay. Very-
it's not there anymore. I mean, it's been replaced by different structures, totally different.
Okay.
Yeah, and I don't think it appears, I found it on one of the, this references Abijah Smith, maybe it was a map that he filed. It
Mhm.
was a map from the 1830s.
Yeah,
It
that was,
doesn't appear on later maps, it just says Neely's Old Barn without mentioning anything about Sojourner Truth, but I knew who Neely was right away. So, I mean, we're able to.
all right, an extra bit of history,
Dunn Street, yeah. Dunn is only about. Yeah,
2 blocks long tops.
as long as the table. They're a little bigger, but not much.
Huh. All right, thank you for that added bit of history that, all right. Thank you kindly, Kevin. Any other comments? All right, then I am prepared to move the following resolution. Resolution of the Historic Landmark Preservation Commission.
I want to first do a seeker, please.
Ah,
It's type 2.
as usual. Okay, thank you for that reminder. I will entertain a motion that we declare this a type 2 action under seeker. Do I hear-
Motion?
Thank you. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you, Nettie. Hearing no further discussion, I will call the roll. Andrea?
Aye.
Nettie? Kevin? I also vote yes.
You.
Thank you, Sue. All right. I will move the following resolution of the HLPC of the City of Kingston recommending the Common Council designate a local landmark district in the Wilbur neighborhood area. Whereas in 2021, the New York State Office of Parks, Recreation, and Historic Preservation certified local government grant-funded and intensive-level historic resources in building survey of the Wilbur and Pankaki neighborhoods conducted by Archaeology and Historic Resource Services, LLC, hereinafter AHRS, and whereas the work completed by AHRS delineated a potential Wilbur National Historic District and was reviewed by OPRHP in December of 2023 to further refine the proposed boundaries of the Wilbur Historic District. And whereas the OPRHP issued a formal determination of eligibility document registered on the State Cultural Information System that identifies the areas as meeting criteria A and criteria C of the National Register of Historic Places, and whereas city staff and HLPC commissioners further reviewed the proposed boundaries to include 19 Dunn Street as a contributing structure to the district, and whereas the city and HLPC conducted 2 neighborhood meetings in Wilbur to educate, answer questions, and provide assistance to property owners in the area about the benefits of and review processes associated with historic districting, and whereas the residents supporting the establishment of the Wilbur Historic District seek designation to ensure the neighborhood's preservation and to secure access to funding opportunities set aside by the local, state, and federal governments to assist owners of historic properties. And whereas the residents of the proposed district are pursuing local landmark districting as a first step towards state and national registered district listing, and whereas the HLPC, in accordance with Section 405.26.L.7, open parentheses, landmark or landmark district designation procedure, close paren, secured sufficient signatures to hold a public hearing on the proposed Wilbur Local Landmark District, and whereas, according to Section 405.26.1, notifications of the proposed public hearing were posted in the city's newspaper and sent by certified mail letters of notice to all property owners within the proposed district. And whereas the HLPC held a public hearing on July 10th, 2024 at City Hall, and the HLPC heard from Alderwoman Weiss, Hirsch, thank you, and Robert King, to recommend to the Common Council the creation of the Wilbur Local Landmark District as delineated. Please see attachment A. And whereas the HLPC finds that the proposed action is considered a type 2 action under New York NYCRR Part 617.5 C38 and is predetermined not to have a significant impact on the environment and is precluded from environmental review under Environmental Conservation Law, Article 8. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Historic Landmark Preservation Commission of the City of Kingston, New York, as follows. Section 1 recommends that the City of Kingston's Common Council designate the area outlined in Attachment A of this resolution as the Wilbur Local Landmark District. Section 2 that the Common Council incorporate the following Wilbur District description and statement of significance under the City of Kingston form-based zoning code as required by Section 405.26.L.8, small a, small vi. VI. Wilbur Local Landmark District is in a low-lying area surrounded by riverine hills at the confluence of the 12th Brook, now covered, and the Rondout Creek 2.5 miles west of the Hudson River. Wilbur is located on the traditional homelands of the Esopus band of the Munsee Algonquin-speaking Lenape people. In the 17th century, Dutch settlers recognized the area as a useful port and initially named it 12th Landing. By the early 1800s, 12th Landing served as a key port for shipping locally produced flour from nearby grist mills. In 1828, the newly completed Delaware and Hudson Canal advanced Wilbur into a receiving point for goods traveling from Eddyville to the west via the Rondout Creek. At 12th Landing, laborers transferred export commodities to larger boats sailing out via the Hudson. By 1829, the rise of the steamboat service between 12th Landing and New York City amplified the 12th Landing's growth. In 1836, Abiah Smith, an early landholder, laid out a formal plan for the community streets, which remain visible today. The community adopted the name Wilbur around this time. By the mid-19th century, bluestone quarrying emerged as a locally viable building and export material, which was primarily shipped out of the port at Wilbur. In the 1840s, Wilbur businessman Ezra Fitch, founded a business dedicated to shipping bluestone that later expanded to include the sale of finished bluestone products. Fitch's Bluestone Company on the banks of the Rondout Creek was the hamlet's largest employer, fueling economic prosperity. By 1850, the Fitch Bluestone Company was the world's largest bluestone exporter. Rival bluestone companies operated in Wilbur at this time, along with hotels, cement quarries, and mills. Wilbur's commercial properties stood closer to the creek and along Wilbur Avenue, while the working-class dwellings occupied side streets. Later houses built on the hamlet's western hill include the home of William B. Fitch, a relative of Ezra Fitch, who later led the company. In 1872, Wilbur merged with the villages of Kingston and Rondout to form the City of Kingston. Development within the district persisted into the 1880s, with the Church of the Holy Name on Fitch Street constructed in 1885. By this time, however, the popularity of Portland cement superseded the demand for bluestone. In 1890, the Fitch Bluestone Company closed, extinguishing new construction in Wilbur for the next several decades. The Wilbur Local Landmark District's historic and cultural resources exhibit the Federal, Italianate, and Gothic Revival styles and include residences, commercial buildings, a firehouse, and a church. The district's period of significance extends from 1836 to 1890, reflecting the community's development and peak with a distinct built environment that meets criteria A and C of the National Register of Historic Places. The Wilbur Local Landmark District's boundary incorporates the intact built portion of the hamlet and laid out in 1836 by Abiah Smith as listed on the city's regulating map. This includes the National Register listed Fitch Bluestone Company office building, all buildings on Davis, Dunn, Burnett, Fitch, and Deflon Streets, and the buildings on the west side of Abeele Street between Davis Street and parcel 56.57-2-3.100, and the buildings on Wilbur Avenue between Abeele Street and parcel 56.49-3-1. Section 3. Per section 405.26.1.7.f of the city's form-based zoning code, the Wilbur Local Landmark District shall have interim protection under the Historic Landmarks Preservation Commission. Section 4. This resolution shall take effect immediately and remain in full effect upon adoption by the Common Council. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you, Kevin. All right, any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the roll. Andrea?
Aye.
Nettie?
Aye.
Kevin?
Aye.
I also vote yes. Yay, and having a quorum, the resolution is hereby adopted. All right. All right, we'll be passing around signatures. And thank you. Yay, this has been a while coming. And this is the first public hearing I believe we have held in about 15 years.
No, you do Kingstonian.
Ah, you're right. It's the first district then. And the last building designation was Henry Street, if I remember correctly. Gulp, that even predates me.
So, Mark, you're going to sign twice there.
And there, okay, if I may.
And also that committee.
Well, that is the nature of historic preservation. We get to think in terms of centuries, you know? Then this one will go around too. All right. So you just have to sign once. I'm the only one who needed to sign that twice. This one's coming around. Though I could argue that the incorporation of the seeker finding within the resolution might have obviated the need for a separate, but better too many than too few. That's a lawyer's approach.
Okay.
Belt and suspenders.
So it's all good. So now
No, we had about eight or nine people who actually found us in the room. And I'm sorry, I don't know your name. You were quietly waiting for us next door? Oh. Didn't think to check.
Okay.
Oh.
So now we have letters of support for a variety of grant applications.
Okay, so we'll be starting off with the Rondout Lighthouse Foundation Engineering, Planning, and Design. Yeah.
So this is a letter of support from the Landmarks Preservation Commission to
Is
Aaron.
there something in writing you'd like to submit to us?
No, this is your paper. I just thought it was something more. But I'm glad it's on.
Thank you kindly. Okay, so we're starting with the Rondout Lighthouse Foundation Engineering, Planning, and Design. Are the
Right.
details?
So the letter essentially is going to Aaron Drost at the Taconic Regional Office of New York State OPRHP. And it reads, Dear Miss Drost, on behalf of the Historic Landmarks Preservation Commission, I am pleased to support the City of Kingston's 2024 New York State Consolidated Funding Application for Kingston's Rondout Lighthouse Foundation Engineering, Planning, and Design Project. Funding from the Office of Parks, Rec, and Historic Preservation will allow the city to hire a consulting firm to conduct engineering, planning, and design and produce bid-ready construction documents to restore the foundation of this historic lighthouse. Over 100 years old, the Lighthouse Foundation is in danger, or the Lighthouse Foundation is in danger of failure due to age and increased frequency and severity of storm surges related to climate change. Its restoration will prevent further deterioration that could lead to the structure's full collapse. It will also strengthen its ability to withstand severe weather events as we continue to face negative effects of climate change into the future. Since 1966, the HLPC has advocated for the preservation and rehabilitation of Kingston's rich stock of historic architecture. The Rondout Lighthouse is a historic property listed in the National Register of Historic Places in 1979 and in the New York State Register of Historic Places in 1980. The Rondout Lighthouse exemplifies the Kingston's maritime architecture and history and serves as an educational tool for the Hudson River Maritime Museum, the city's nonprofit partner for the site. The HLPC views a professional engineer's assessment and plan for restoring the structure's compromised foundation as imperative to the site's integrity, long-term preservation, and continued uses for our community. On behalf of the HLPC, I strongly enthusiastically urge OPRHP to support the City of Kingston's request for funding. Thank you for your consideration. Sincerely, Mark Grumblatt. So is the commission good with that? Motion?
I move that I be authorized to send out the letter as written. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you, Nettie. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the roll. Andrea?
Aye.
Nettie?
Aye.
Kevin?
Aye.
I also vote yes. Next up will be the Kingston Neighborhood Skate Park.
This is again a letter to Aaron Drost, Taconic Regional Office of New York State OPRHP. Dear Ms. Drost, on behalf of Historic Landmark Preservation Commission, the commission designated to oversee the heritage area, I am pleased to support the City of Kingston's 2024 New York State Consolidated Funding Application for Kingston Neighborhood Skate Park Project. Funding from the Office of Parks, Rec, and Historic Preservation will allow the city to hire a consultant to design a thoughtful, safe, and aesthetic skate park in the existing 42-acre Hasbrook Park. Funding will also be used to purchase equipment for construction. The City of Kingston has a variety of outdoor recreational opportunities that serve a diverse group of individuals and families throughout its neighborhoods, but lacks a designated skate park for skateboarders, inline skaters, and BMX users. For many years, community members have voiced their desire for this type of amenity. Since 1966, the HLPC has advocated for the preservation and rehabilitation of Kingston's rich stock of historic architecture, streetscapes, and community spaces. The Kingston Swimming Facility Upgrades Project, this has got to be changed to skateboard.
Please.
We will make that change. Will enhance two key community spaces for recreation. Is this for both of them or? Wait a minute. Two key community spaces for recreation, relaxation, and community cohesion. The HLPC recognizes and supports the need for community space that foster positive health, pride, and sense of place for all Kingstonians. On behalf of the HLPC, I strongly and enthusiastically urge the Office of Parks, Rec, and Historic Preservation to support the City of Kingston's request for funding. Thank you for consideration.
All right, so do you need to redo that before I actually sign?
If we redo this, would you allow us to sign and initial your name?
I would support that.
Okay.
Okay, then I would ask the commission's approval of the letter as amended to be sent out over my signature. I so move. Is there a second?
Andrea Pute, second.
Thank you, Andrea. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the roll. Andrea?
Aye.
Nettie?
Aye.
Kevin?
Aye.
I also vote yes. Next up, Kingston Heritage Area request for the Rondout Gardens Community Park Project.
Okay, so again, we have a letter going to Aaron Drost, Taconic Region of New York State, OPRHP. Dear Ms. Strauss, on behalf of the Historic Landmark Preservation Commission, the commission designated to oversee the heritage area, I am pleased to support the City of Kingston 2024 New York State Consolidated Funding Application for the Rondout Gardens Community Park. Funding from the Office of Parks, Rec, and Historic Preservation will allow the city to hire a consultant to conduct engineering, design, and planning and produce construction ready bid documents for this new park. The Rondout Gardens Community Park will make use of existing public space that is adjacent to the Empire State Trail and the Rondout Gardens Public Housing Authority complex. Plans will identify and design improvements to the community garden that is already in place in the space and develop an unused area located next to the garden to include a basketball court and other potential amenities. The plan will consider public feedback, ADA access improvements, general ongoing maintenance, wayfinding, and a means to strengthen connections with the surrounding community. Since 1966, the HLPC has advocated for the preservation and rehabilitation of Kingston's rich stock of historic architecture, streetscapes, and community spaces. The Rondout Gardens Community Park project will enhance a key residential community space in the Rondout that incorporates horticulture, recreation, inclusivity, and community cohesion. The HLPC recognizes and supports the need for community spaces that foster personal health, pride, and sense of place for all Kingstonians. On behalf of the HLPC, I strongly and enthusiastically urge the OPRHP to support the City of Kingston's request for funding. Thank you for your consideration.
I'll move that I sign this letter on behalf of the commission. Do I hear a second?
Second, Kevin.
Thank you, Kevin. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the roll. Andrea?
Aye.
Nettie?
Aye.
Kevin?
Aye.
I also vote yes. All right, next up, Kingston Local Waterfront Revitalization and Comprehensive Plan Update.
Want to
Sure.
start? Okay. This is a letter going to Walter Mosley, Secretary of State, New York State Department of State. Dear Secretary Mosley, on behalf of Historic Landmarks Preservation Commission, the commission designated to oversee the Kingston Heritage Area, I am pleased to support the City of Kingston's 2024 New York State Consolidated Funding Application for the Kingston Local Waterfront Revitalization and Comprehensive Plan Update Project. Funding from the New York State Department of State, LWRP, will allow the city to hire a consultant to update its LWRP, which was originally created in 1992 in conjunction with the Kingston 2025 Comprehensive Plan. Coordinating development of the LWRP with the Comprehensive Plan update is an excellent way to ensure that the city's planning and regulatory framework will meet goals for revitalization of the waterfront and support the natural, cultural, and economic resources so vital to the city's future. In 2023, Project Advisory Committee, which included community members and staff, worked with specialists from Pace University to assess existing conditions and current resources to determine resiliency needs for the future. The final document will be used as the basis for updating the 1992 LWRP, which will align with the updated comprehensive plan. These documents will build on accomplishments to date. They will also serve as a guide for future policymaking and actions the city can develop to address needs related to climate change, zoning, open space, housing, parks, infill development, transportation, and the economy, and more. Since 1966, the HLP has advocated for the preservation and rehabilitation of Kingston's rich stock of historic architecture, streetscapes, and history. The City of Kingston's development and culture is deeply enmeshed with the Hudson River and Rondout Creek, which served as a means of transportation, sustenance, and recreation for decades. The HLPC recognizes and supports the need for updates to the city's LWRP and comprehensive plan to ensure both waterways and their adjacent communities are preserved and remain vibrant and healthy places in perpetuity. On behalf of the HLPC, I strongly and enthusiastically urge the New York State Department of State to support the City of Kingston's request for funding. Thank you for your consideration.
I move that I be permitted to sign this letter on behalf of the commission. Do I hear a second?
Second, Nettie.
Thank you, Nettie. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I will call the roll. Now, ladies, there's enough of these for all. Andrea,
Aye.
Nettie,
Aye.
Kevin,
Aye.
I also vote yes. All right, and I would also note that more than decades, we're talking centuries. Thank you. Up next is the funding request for Kingston Swimming Facilities Upgrades Project.
Okay, and this is a communication going to Randy Simons, who's Commissioner Pro Tempore for the New York State Office of Parks, Rec, and Historic Preservation, as well as Lisa Gomez, who is the Chairman for the Dormitory Authority of the State of New York. Dear Mr. Simons and Ms. Gomez, on behalf of the HLPC, the commission designated to oversee the heritage area, I am pleased to support the City of Kingston's 2024 New York Swims application for the Kingston Swimming Facilities Upgrades Project. New York Swims funding will allow the city to make improvements to its two main swimming facilities that are highly frequented, the Andretta Pool and Splash Pad, which need accessibility upgrades and higher capacity splash pad pump, and the Kingston Point Beach, which is at risk of permanent flooding in the coming decades. Funding for the beach will support the city's effort to move forward with the design selected as the preferred alternative during the 2020 Kingston Point Phase 2 Climate Adaptive Design Project. This design will mitigate sea level rise resulting from climate change, preserve the existing beach as a long-term recreational and ecological asset, and protect inland beach areas. Without this work, Kingston Point will likely be submerged within the next 50 years. Since 1966, the HLPC has advocated for the preservation and rehabilitation of Kingston's rich stock of historic architecture, streetscape, and community spaces. The Kingston Swimming Facility Upgrade Project will enhance a key community space for recreation, relaxation, and social cohesion. The HLPC recognizes and supports the need for community spaces that foster positive health, pride, and a sense of place for all Kingstonians. On behalf of the HLPC, I strongly and enthusiastically urge the Office of Parks, Rec, and Historic Preservation and the Dormitory Authority of the State of New York to support the City of Kingston's request for funding. Thank you for your consideration.
I move that the commission vote to allow me to sign the letter as read. Do I hear a second?
Second, Andrea.
Ah. All right. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the roll. I'm voting first this time. Aye. Kevin,
Aye.
Nettie,
Aye.
and Andrea.
Put me in my place. Aye.
One more to go. All right.
We got two more.
Two more. Oops.
An add-on.
Oh, we have an additional. Well, the one on that we have here. Yep. The Hudson Valley LGBTQ EPF grant.
Okay.
Yes, it's a string.
So this letter is going to Linda Malave, Regional Director of Mid-Hudson Valley Regional Council, Empire State Development Corporation. Dear Ms. Malave, the City of Kingston Historic Landmark Preservation Commission is pleased to express our enthusiastic endorsement of the Hudson Valley LGBTQ Community Centers, the Center grant application seeking the assistance of New York State OPRHP Environmental Protection Fund Grants Program for Parks Preservation and Heritage, EPF. The subject building, located at 300 Wall Street, is contributing building within the city's Kingston's Stockade Historic District and is located within the Kingston Heritage Area, established initially the Urban Cultural Park Plan in 1987. The Kingston Urban Cultural Park Management Plan from 1987 remains in effect. The management plan lists as one of its system's goals preservation, specifically to, and in quotes, preserve the historic buildings and settings in the Stockade and West Strand Rondout Historic Districts, along with rehabilitate historically, culturally significant buildings within the park. The proposed project envisions the much-needed repair of the building's roof, the treatment of windows, doors, and the repair of the flooring so that the building is sustained for future utility and efficient use. The planned rehabilitation and repairs will be consistent with the Secretary of Interior standards for rehabilitation. The building serves as a visual anchor within the city's Stockade Historic District, a district significant for its historic, cultural, architectural, and archaeological resources. The three-story building dates from 1832 and is located at the intersection of Wall and John Streets. The building occupies one of the city's most physically prominent and trafficked commercial streets and has come to impart a deep sense of place. We hope that you will favorably regard the applicant's request for assistance in this regard. Sincerely, Mark Grumblatt.
I would move that the commission allow me to sign the letter as read. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you, Nettie. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the roll. Andrea?
Aye.
Nettie?
Aye.
Kevin?
Aye.
I also vote yes, and we have an additional. Okay.
Okay, so this next letter is also going to Linda Malave, Regional Director for the Mid-Hudson Valley Regional Council of the Empire State Development Corporation. And this reads, Dear Miss Malave, the City of Kingston Historic Landmark Preservation Commission is pleased to express our support for Kingston Land Trust's application to the New York State OPRHP Environmental Protection Fund for Parks Preservation and Heritage, EPF, for a strategic planning grant to develop the Land in Black Hands project. Land in Black Hands, LIBH, is a program of the Kingston Land Trust, KLT, dedicated to the collective exploration of ecological land stewardship by the Black, Indigenous, and People of Color, BIOPOC, community through education, long-term land access, public engagement, and programs. The LIBH property is 54 acres located at 80 Chapel Street in Wilbur neighborhood within the Kingston Heritage area. And I think we want to adjust that to nearby, correct? Okay, so they'll have to adjust this one. Okay. Located near the Kingston Heritage Area established in the Urban Cultural Park Management Plan of 1987 and which remains in effect today. With approximately 6 acres designated for regenerative agriculture and 47 acres of biodiverse forest, wetland, and ridge habitat, the LIBH serves as the epicenter for dynamic hub for hands-on learning in ecological and agricultural practices. This transformative sanctuary has the potential to provide land access, housing, and opportunities for land-based education for BIPOC people. The Kingston Land Trust has long been a partner in the city's efforts towards the responsible stewardship of land in our communities and environmentally effective practices. The Historic Landmark Preservation Commission endorses the KLT efforts and through the CFA and REDC funding to develop a strategic plan for the responsible development of the property by the LIBH Steering Committee in alignment with KLT's mission and the City of Kingston's open space plan. We ask that you favorably regard the KLT's request for this assistance. Sincerely, Mark Grumblatt.
One quick point, I believe that I represented the, I had a client who transferred, I think about 3/4 of the affected property to the Kingston Land Trust. I do not believe that this creates any sort of conflict of interest, but I felt it best to put that former involvement with the property on the record.
Representative Carl?
He the only one? I
In the transfer, yeah. I wasn't at the closing. Paul represented us.
okay. No, I'm in the same area. It was off of Gross Street.
Oh, that's a different site.
Yeah,
Okay.
this is up of Chapel. This is in the Wilbur area.
Oh,
That was
okay.
either Daniel Burzak or it was Habitat for Ulster. you know,
David
Crickers.
Bursack,
David
yes.
Burzak, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Sorry, misplaced in my brain.
I'll do a similar discussion because I'm on the board of the Kingston Land Trust. I'm not on the Land and Black Hands Committee. I actually read about this in the Daily Freeman. That's.
I don't believe that creates a conflict
No,
of
I
interest
don't
in this
think it
matter
does. I
anyhow.
don't-
We're making no decisions regarding it. We're simply sending a letter.
In fact, one question I did have, which let's not redo any paperwork, but why Erin Drost wasn't listed and it was going straight to the regional council, that I don't have the answer to either.
They gave us
Yeah, I
the
saw what
person to address
Maggie-
it to, so that's.
Yeah, Maggie gave me a few of those to send around to other boards
Right.
and whatever, but yeah, so then,
All right, so we'll return to the original motion. I believe we've been seconded.
Did we have a second on this? I don't.
Nope,
Yeah, no.
all right, then I'll move that we send this additional letter and request the board's vote. Do I hear a second?
You just authorize us to sign and initial your name because there is a minor change.
Yes, with that, with that amendment authorizing staff to sign on my behalf. Thank you. So, with the motion as amended, do I hear a second?
Andrea Pugh, second.
I was looking at you.
All right. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the roll. Andrea,
Aye.
Nettie,
Aye.
Kevin.
Aye.
I also vote yes.
Okay.
All right. I believe that's the last bit of business for this evening. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Andrea Pugh, second.
No.
Same motion, excuse me.
So,
I'm so moved. I am
so moved. I
Yeah,
feel moved. Absolutely. And do I hear a second?
Second, Kevin.
Oh, well done. I will call the roll. Andrea.
Aye.
Nettie.
Aye.
Kevin.
Aye.
I also vote yes, we stand adjourned.